I've been in your waters. I came for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the next episode of our Kobus and Sons channel. And in today's episode, we're going to be showing you guys how to swap a roof skin on a car the correct way. So, as example, we've got this Capri Perana that belongs to a customer of ours, and basically, we managed to get a donor roof off another car. So, we're going to be showing you guys where to drill out all the spot welds, how to find them, how to take out all the lead seams that were very popular in your 60s and 70s cars, and then we're going to swap some skins. So basically the concept is about the same between all your cars on how the skin works. So it's a principle that you can apply to any car's roof skin. Normally it's a job that looks a little bit more intimidating than what it really is, but what you don't want to end up doing is, for instance, a restoration like this, pretty horrible job where the car seems to have had a sunroof cut into it, and then they riveted a plate in from the underneath, and they put concrete rebar in to reinforce it. So it's pretty horrible. And so we're going to be getting rid of all that. We're going to be drilling out our spot welds here around the window, and we're going to be melting out some lead here. You can actually see that the lead has slightly started to split off the metal, so we'll be repairing that. And then we're going to drill out all the spot welds here in your drip channel, and then of course there's a lead seam around the back here somewhere that will also open. So from here on, we're going to start opening our seams and finding our lead, and we'll be showing you guys what we're going to do from there. So this is the donor roof that we're going to be using. So we spent the morning, we hammered out a couple of dents, we closed up an antenna hole that was here in the front. Trick of welding on a roof: always just keep a cloth with some water close by. Like around here, we kept it cool, and you want to weld very slow. Take it easy, there's no rush when you're ever welding a roof. So we're going to be tearing off this skin shortly. So just a couple of basic tools you're going to need. A lot of clamps when you're doing a roof skin. You want to pin it down as much as you can. You're going to need some wire brushes for when we melt out the lead, some dust masks. Lead is poisonous if you inhale it and it gets into your body system, so always play it safe on that one. Some hammers, dollies, and then some grinders. So this is our trusty workshop assistant, Daniel. What are we going to be doing from here? We're going to be opening up our lead seams, and then we're going to show you where they are, and then we'll do a video where we melt out the lead and how to do that. So from here on, we'll be doing a time lapse just where we clean the seams, and then we take it from there. So now we've got our lead seams open. So it might be difficult to see on the camera, but you can see there's a bit of a color difference here. So that's where your lead seam is. So what we're going to be doing from here is we're going to be melting out the lead now. I just want to backtrack a second to what I said earlier about lead being poisonous. Even the vapor of it is poisonous. So always great idea. Take some safety precautions when doing that, and then we'll be covering up the front just to protect all the dash components, your plastic, and a bit of harnesses. The disc that we used on this is your conventional flapper disc. So in the meantime, we opened up the spot welds, started drilling them out with a 6 mil drill bit. I know you do get a specialized spot weld cutter, but today we don't have that one at hand, so we're making work with a conventional drill bit. So easy way to identify your spot welds. If you have a look at this, you can see that there's almost, if you run it over with a flapper disc, it makes like a little indent. So that's an easy way of finding your spot welds. And then we just take a drill and run them through one by one. And then we found the lead seam here at the back as well. You'll also see lead is a lot softer than metal. So it scars a lot easier when you run with a flapper over it. So what we'll be doing, we'll be vacuuming up some dust, and then from there we're going to be melting out some lead. So the next part of the video will be that. Okay guys, so we've got our oxyacetylene torch and we're ready now to take out the lead here. So we've got a wire brush handy. So what we're going to do is we're going to fire up our torch. Now you can do this with a butane torch as well, but it does create a lot of heat. So it's better to go with the oxyacetylene because you get it done a lot quicker. So what we're doing is we're heating up the lead, and you'll see it makes like a little puddle. So as soon as you've got the puddle going, you'll see your lead starts to drip out. Got a big lead spot. Always just mind where you put your feet, as molten lead dripping into your shoes, not very fun. Just something to pay attention to. And then we clear out a piece on the inside. So the reason we're using a wire brush is there's always a little bit of lead residue. If you look closely, you'll see there's some puddles there. So you heat that up, and then you grab your wire brush and you rub it. And then it comes clean. So I just want to bring the camera closer a second. So that's the finished product after the lead's been taken off. So you can see that that seam's now open, and we can see our spot welds here as well. So what we'll be doing from here, same process, but we're going to be doing the same on the back and the same on the other pillar and in the front. Quite a nice thick plastic just to keep everything from melting. We pre-removed any flammable materials like the hood liner and carpet. Yeah, so I just want to show you guys the back piece as well. It's quite a broad piece that we do. Okay, so just to show you guys, so now we've got the back section open. So the easiest way to find the back section is probably from the back. If you look at where the seam joint is here, if you pre-hand go and you clean it up with a wire brush, you'll actually get to spot it pretty easily. But it does make a bit of a kink here in the skin itself. If I zoom out a little bit, you'll understand that. So, but once you get some point where it starts melting, you can up your heat a little bit, and then the process goes a bit quicker. So there's less heat. I mean, if you have a look, there's paint not very far away from where we melted out the lead, and that's not damaged at all. Like that completely stayed intact. So there's no heat movement into your skin when you do that. Your quarter panel is pretty tough, so I always try as well to try and maintain the heat going downwards instead of the heat moving into your roof skin. It can rather move into the stronger panel than into your roof skin. That's a lot more fragile. So from here on, we're going to be drilling out all the spot welds, the last ones inside your drip channel. If you have a look at the other side, we've already managed to find some of them. So you can run like the flapper disc down the inside and you'll easily pick up where they are. Let's see if I can stabilize a little bit. There we go. So we're going to be drilling out those as well. Then we're going to be mounting out the last seams. And then from there on, we're going to be doing the same on the other roof, but we'll be talking you through that when we get there. Okay guys, so this is day 2 of our roof swap. We've got quite a bit of hours in this already. So what we've done in the meantime is all the boring stuff where we get to drill out a bunch of spot welds. So what we realized is there's a seam weld going straight down the side here. So what we actually did is we had to take the grinder and then you run it straight down the split of that seam weld, and that then pops it out quite easily. As you saw earlier, we melted out the lead, drilled out the spot welds that was hidden behind that, and then we drilled out all the spot welds here. So we've got the skin loose. You'll see it pops off quite easily, and there we can see the leftovers of the mess, and we had to cut loose all the rebar that they've welded in here. But we've got the skin loose now, and that's going to be out of the way. And then after that, we again did all the boring stuff here, drilled out all the spot welds, melted out the lead. And then on this one, we decided we're rather going to sacrifice the drip rails for the sake of getting the skin out really, really well. This is going to be our donor skin, so we really took an extra amount of care to take it out as well as we humanly could. Okay, so what we're going to show you guys now is, so once you've split it down the seam, what we want to do is you want to grab something really flat like that chisel, and you want to grab your hammer, and then what you're going to do is you're going to beat it straight down the middle of that seam, and then that's going to split it. And then you want to head over to the other side, and then all that we're going to do is, now that we've got the other side released, is we're slightly going to lift it on the other side. And then by doing that, you don't want to lift it too much, just a little bit. And all that you're doing is you're creating a bit of friction by slightly lifting and dropping and slightly lifting and dropping it. And that will actually break loose the seam. You can see it actually popping out quite easily. So that's how you release the spot welds on the end. So normally some car manufacturers only have spot welds in the drip rail instead of the seam welds like this, and that they're pretty easy to get out. Like this one is a little bit more tricky, but we've managed to figure it out and get it out with too much hassle. And then the same thing applies when you're splitting your seams here. You've got a pretty flat, pretty sharp tool. And then all that you do is, once you've got the drip rail, or once you've got the spot welds drilled out, all that you do is you find a point where it's slightly split, and you just take a hammer and you beat it until you start splitting the seam, and then you just work it from there. Like this, we up to a 8mm drill bit, just to give us that extra bit of clearance on it. So from here, we're going to head back to our other car now that we've got this skin off. We're going to be taking out this roof brace that we got here, and we're going to be transplanting that as well instead of the rebar. So from here on, we'll be shooting over to our other car. Okay, so now that we've got the skin lifted off this, it's a really great opportunity to be able to actually primer the braces and brackets and stuff on the inside. They were primed from factory, but as you can see over the years, there's a lot of rust build up. So it's a great time to actually just get in quickly, give it a sand, give it a good primer. Then we know that it's good for the next 50 years to come. It's an opportunity that you don't get unless you have the skin off. So we might as well take the moment and do that. So we're going to be primering all the brackets. Good old-fashioned red oxide primer. It's the best thing to seal any seam for the longer term. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cleaning out and just trimming all the welding and stuff that's still left over here. And then from there, we'll be doing the part where we're going to be reinstalling the roof. Okay guys, so all that we're basically doing now is we're just spending time to basically see how much clamps we can get in to secure the roof as much as we can. The more you can pin it down, the better. This is something that will help you as you're going along. I've seen too many guys start out with roof skins and they barely have a clamp or two on it. So now that we've got our roof clamped down, all that we're doing is we're grabbing the wire brush and the drill, and we are busy cleaning out the channel all the way through. So you'll see the seams are matching up very well already, but we'll start clamping it down with our welding clamps as soon as we got it clean now. So once we got both sides clean, then we're going to start clamping it down in the middle, and then we're going to start welding from there. Okay guys, so now that we've got our drip rail channel cleaned up, what we're going to be doing from here, so we've got it thoroughly clamped in the front, thoroughly clamped in the back. So what we want to do now, we want to start around the middle. Now we left that bit of an edge, and you'll see as I'm pulling on this, you'll see the two plates coming together and actually joining. Now sometimes you do need to press this a little bit, so we'll be pressing our drip rail, and then you kind of want to grab onto your roof skin and pull a little bit. So that will then bring your two lips close to each other. Now what you want to do then, we've got a panel beating hammer with its flat head, is just want to slightly beat down the lip a little bit. So just to show you the difference between where I beat it down and where it's not beaten down. So there you can see quite clearly, if you have a look around this section, that piece of lip was beat down to match. That one has it. So if you want to get it a little bit closer to the lip on that side, you'll have to press on top of the roof skin. So let me do that and then re-clamp it. There we go. Now it's a lot tighter than what it is, so we beat the lip down there. And then all that we're going to do is we're going to take our machine. I adjusted my machine a little bit higher volts, a little bit lower speed, because you don't want to lay down a thick bead. So all that we then going to do is just give it a tag to hold it in place. Now we work from the middle outwards, so what we're going to be doing is then give it another tag in the middle. So all that we're doing right now is we're just tagging it into place. Nothing else needed. You don't want an additional amount of heat moving into your skin now while we're still busy working on it. Okay, and then because we moved a little bit to the back, we're now coming back to the front section, clamping that as well. Sometimes it's necessary to reclamp, so we do that if we need to. And then we move back to the back section. And then we move back to the front. And then we're going to do our last section in the back. You want to do the last weld as close to the end as what you can. Okay. So now that we've got this side fully tagged in, and bring the camera a little closer. So we've got some nice welds going all the way down the joint. Got a couple of holes, but we'll fill them as we go. So what we're going to proceed to do from here is finish beating down the center of the lip. And we know now we've got some good primer underneath the skin. And then we'll come back and re-primer this after we did our grinding work. So then basically from here on we're going to do the same on the other side. And then we're going to start with our corner in front. And then I'll pick up the video from there and show you what we're going to be doing. So we've got this side wrapped up, we've got that side tagged in. So now that we've got tags securing the entire sides of the car, we know now that there's no sinkages or anything happening on the roof, so that's a good start out. Then what we want to do is we want to start getting in our corners. Now the corner always takes a little bit of work because the corner needs to bend out a little bit when you're taking it off the old frame. So what you want to do is you want to start from close to your drip rail. You want to start beating it into place, going where it should. So you'll see now that my corners, they are overlapping, and then normally you start beating it from the top section. This is definitely my favorite hammer when it comes to panel beating. The sharp edge of this really does a lot of great work, especially when it comes to working in panels and getting them to shape. So basically what I'm doing now, this lip is quite uniform to the old frame now, so you'll see that the old red lip that's sitting underneath here is matched up right against here, but this little corner here is still a little bit bent out. So it takes a bit of time to work this back into place. It's not always a quick and easy thing to do. And as I mentioned before, on a roof skin, you always want to try and be as patient as what you can. It pulled a little bit of a bulge here, so all I'm doing is I'm not direct hitting it with a hammer. You just go a little bit off, and then all that you're doing is you're kind of persuading that little bit of a dent to come down, and just fill the hollowness that it's making at the bottom. So you'll see it's actually starting to raise a little bit here, so that's what we want to try and achieve. And then what we can do from here on, we can start tagging. There's some old brazing from factory sitting here. Now, welding doesn't stick very well to brazing. They don't seem to get along very well. So we're going to be working kind of around that. And that's also fun. Sometimes you have to cut a little piece away to get back to metal. That's also fine. But we got a little bit lucky on this one and it pulled a little bit up, so it's out of the way. So I'm going to proceed now, make some tags here, and then I'm going to work it more with the hammer coming back down. Okay, so we've got our first tag in. And we did pre-clean all the lead and everything else off out of the way. Anything that can contaminate your welding is pre-cleaned. Okay, now that we've got that corner in, we're going to start working our way around the side. This corner is such a short run, it won't do any harm if you do a full run all the way around instead of just a tag. Okay, so now we're getting to our first spot weld. Now we don't want to attack these right yet. We want to follow the same process where we are going to work our way outwards. So what we're going to do is I'm basically going to do the same on the other corner, then I'm going to come back to the center and we're going to start working in our spot welds from there. This corner is the most tolerant for a bit of flex. Same story, you don't want any bulges sticking out in the middle when you're working towards the center. So we turn it around, we work from the center outwards, and then basically this corner, because it's already tagged in, that little bit of stiffness here will get absorbed. You can leave this corner to last as well. I like getting it in because it prevents my skin from coming back over again. So I normally weld corner and then I start in the middle and work my way outwards. And so I'm going to weld in the other one and then I'll come back on the next part of the video where we start in the center and then start filling our spot welds back in. The next part of this, what we're going to be doing is in certain places, the roof skin, because it had to be bent back to come out from underneath the lip, what we have to do is we take a flat bar like this and then take it with a hammer and then all that you're doing is basically you're working the lip back into place so it can actually match up with the old lip behind it. So this normally takes a bit of time to do. but it's something that you want to get done now before you start welding spot welds. Now, I can't stress how important it is that you keep the clamping all the way around the rest of the roof while we're doing this to avoid any shape movement or anything like that. We've got a secure corner, secure sides, and it's clamped around the back, so your whole roof is stabilized except for where we're busy working here. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to start around the middle, and we're going to clamp a spot weld with a welding clamp on both sides. And what we'll have to do is, because of the tearing in the spot weld, just hammer it down a little bit. Sometimes you have to take off the clamp first, work it down. And then reclamp. So we're going to start our way from around the middle, and we're going to work to the side. So I'll be jumping a little bit side to side to get it done. So this time spot welds only, not going to do any full runs as per factory spec. So all that we're doing is we're filling the old spot weld with some new welding, and that's more than enough to refuse the metal. That'll never come loose. What you can also do, if the lip is really bent, just take your hammer and dolly. And you just basically work it all the way through the lip. It's always a good idea to have the dolly behind it, because what you're doing is you're providing support for the lower lip. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. So we're supplying support to the lower lip while we're beating it at the top, and then when we come in with a clamp, that will then help to hold down everything in place. So I've still got the same setting on my machine I had earlier, so pretty hot, pretty low wire speed. Not hot enough that you just melt the metal away, but hot enough that it provides um, a decent weld that bonds your two metals. Okay, and then we're hopping back to the other side. So and then we're hopping back to the other side. So basically what we want to do is the same thing again. We've got the dolly and the hammer providing support for the lip underneath. While we're busy ironing it down. So you'll see at this moment I'm doing every second spot weld and not each and every one. So once we've got every second one in, then I'll come back and we'll do all the ones in the middle. Okay, so now that we've got that done, from what we're going to do is same story. I'm just going to do a time lapse of where I do the rest, and then we'll pick up our next video where we do the spot welding around the back quarters and around the back. Okay, so we got all our spot welds in back in the front. So after doing all the spot welds, I just dropped my voltage a little bit, up my wire speed, came back and just filled all the little spots where it burned through to the bottom. So we'll get this trimmed with a grinder soon and a flapper disc. So from here on, we're going to be moving our way backwards to be welding the quarters, and then as soon as we've got those in, we're going to be doing the back section. Okay guys, so now we've finished up the drip rails, we finished the tag in the front. Now is the important back section. Now this time we're going to be doing it a little bit different from the front. Here it's important to first get this back line into place, because once we've got these big quarter sections welded in, it's very difficult to get this to move. So first thing that we're going to be doing is working that back. Then we will grab our hammer and our dolly. Now you'll see your corners are still flabbing quite a bit. That's pretty normal, don't stress about that yet. I just want to give it a couple of more whacks here. It looks pretty good. And then we want to give it as much support as we can, starting from the middle. There we go. So we got that tagged in or held into place with clamps now. Okay, so now that we've got our clamps in, same story. We're going to grab our welding clamps and we're going to start to work our way from the middle outward. But the corner is not welded in yet. Now I'm just making the process a little bit quicker by adding in a lot more clamps here, because then I can do a much bigger go in one time. Okay, so now that we've got the center in, I'll do a quick time lapse again of where we're just going to basically work our way around up to the point where we get this corner in. When we reach there, we're probably going to have to use the hammer again just to start working it in. So we'll clamp it, push it, clamp it, push it, and then hammer it a little bit as we're going into the corner. And then we'll come around and we'll get this small piece here done. So yeah, not a lot left to do. But yeah, it takes a lot of time. It's not a quick thing to do this without distorting your roof skin in any way. But you know, the roof has, throughout this whole thing, it's maintained solid. There's no tin canning or anything going on. So always go a little bit slower, one weld at a time. If you feel you're getting too much heat, stop, give it a short rest, go back. Okay guys, so that's it for the back piece, and then that's the end of day 3 for this job. Took a bit of time this morning to sand all the inner rails and frames and get them in some primer. So we'll be picking up tomorrow then to wrap up the quarters and get them welded in, and then we'll also be showing you guys how to do the re-leading. That's quite a fun job. It's quite a, not a difficult thing to do, but if you're not trained at it, it can be quite tedious. But yeah, so the roof is pretty solid. If you look down the sides and stuff, there's no major warpage or anything that happened. Um, and that's the important bit. As long as you got that and some decent stability, there's no tin canning going on, and the roofs remain flat throughout the whole process. So that's exactly what you want to go for when we're doing this. So we're nearing the end now. So we've got those welded in, we've got our spot welds cleaned up, taken the wire brush, ran it along, cleaned the area that we need to do some lead work. We've cleared out all our channels, and now we're left with the piece here at the back. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to weld that without causing any distortions. And then we've got the spot welds trimmed here at the back as well, so that's all starting to look really tidy. And then we're going to start doing our full runs down the sides to get that back into place. So yeah, in the next bit I'll be showing you guys how we're gonna approach this piece over here. So what we're gonna be doing now is we're gonna be welding in this section. Now the only really important bit about this is that we're gonna start welding it from this side and working towards there, because there's a lot more available flex in the roof skin in this area than what there is here at the back. Otherwise you're going to end up with a bit of a hump coming down here, so we don't want that. So we're going to be working away from inside, giving it a tag or two there, welding in our spot welds, tag or two there, and then we're going to do our full run down the sides, just to fill the drip rails. That's just been tagged into place. So we're going to do full run all the way down the channel, little bit by little bit, but I'll be explaining it as we go from there. And then we're going to start doing our lead work. So I'll be showing you guys that in the next bit of the video. So now that we have our welding done, got our spot welds back in, we've got our welding all the way down the drip rail. Roof is maintained solid all the way through. There's no tin canning or anything going on. So roof is welded in. So what we need to do from now here on is we're going to do some lead work around here. I might have to clear a little bit more paint here. We want a nice decent piece open when we do that, and always open more when it comes to lead. Always open more than you anticipate using. So I can see the old lead stretch till about here, so we'll probably stop before there, but you know what, it's always better just to open it as much as you can. Same on the other side, we've got our welding in here, so closed up some holes as well in the process. So we'll go ahead and we're going to grind that down now. So as soon as we've got that done, then we're going to move over to our leading process. And then just one other thing, what I normally like to do, a lot of times I see guys that do lead work, they never take any effort to work down these two seams. So what happens is you end up having a bit of a, almost like a high spot when you start sanding it down. It makes a bit of a bulge. So I normally take the hammer, work it a little bit down, so we'll get this a little bit refined as well. But you do want that panel to be a little bit more downward, so you can actually pull your lead all the way over the seams to close it all up, instead of having it just in that strip over there. Okay guys, so that's it for part one. We've got our welding wrapped up, we've got our seams welded in, we've welded all the way down the drip rails, we've polished that. Spot welds all around the window is done, and same in the front. So what we'll be doing from here on is we're going to be doing our lead. So we'll first get the roof skin cleaned up as well. We started with that process. But yeah, so this is no brace in it yet, but it's solid. There's no tin canning or anything going on, and that's what you want to achieve in a roof, and that's why you do that last bit of a hammer action when you weld in the back. It just helps give a bit of firmness to your roof. No bracing yet, so the roof is completely supporting itself. And then what we're going to be doing from here, we'll be adding some windscreen adhesive to the top of that bracket, and then we'll be welding it back very easy. Just 2 or 3 tags holding it in place, but we're first going to get the roof cleaned up and prime it underneath. So yeah, that's it for part one, and then in part two we'll be showing you guys how to do the lead seams, basic principle that applies to all classic cars. So we'll be doing that, and then we'll be doing a how-to video on that in part two. Thanks for watching.